mami, yo sé que te va a gustar. Despacito, mami, yo sé que te va a encantar. Mueve, dale, vamos. Despacito, mami, yo sé que te va a gustar. Mueve, dale, más sabrosito. Vamos a bailar. ¡Es la cosa! ¡Levantó! ¡Aprieta! ¡Vamos!
Okay, so you just seen in the recent snap there that I backed down to 156 pounds, okay? Even though I had pizza last night, I talked about flexible dieting and how it can work in your diet and it will not change your weight. So back down to 156, hopefully aiming for 155 tomorrow. This video is going to be a little bit different because I'm going to be meeting someone that I've been waiting to meet up all week. I did a Q&A picture on Instagram during the week. He's asked some great questions, I want to go through them as well. On the way to Smyth Swords, and I need a pre-workout in. I've already had a can of Monster and it's been 10 o'clock in the morning, so I had no food in me whatsoever, like I said in my previous videos. So the caffeine is going to kill my hunger for a while, it's going to hit me harder. So for my pre-workout meal, I like to have some carbohydrates in me whenever I'm meeting someone or whenever I'm doing leg day. Oh my god, look at that spot. And I am going to have 2 Pop-Tarts. I've talked about this before. Flexible dieting, if you can fit in your macros and fit in your calories, then it's okay. This is going to give me some quick release energy for the workout and help me get through it. And then I'm going to go to Swords Pavilions and I'm going to watch Rob Lipson. He's giving a talk on nutrition and fitness, and I haven't seen him give any talks in the past. I've only met him once in Body Power, so I'm going to see how that goes and I'm going to bring us all along. So the next clip you'll see is me meeting Aaron Smyth. He goes by the name Mr. Fly. Hope you enjoy it. Landed here in Smyth Swords. Haven't been here in a long time. I was here last year at some stage. It's completely different. It's been renovated, so it's done. You can get the background there. So I'm here with Aaron Smyth. Okay, we're going to get a workout in. We're going to have a bit of a chat after. We're going to do a Q&A. We're going to do chest and back. So what we're going to do for back, we're going to do 4 different exercises. You want to hit it at horizontal and vertically. So we're going to do 2 horizontal movements and 2 vertical movements. Probably pull up some rows, mix it up a bit, and then bench as well for the chest. So I'm going to pass you over to Aaron here. He's going to introduce what he is all about and what he's doing the last couple of years, and I've really enjoyed it, so I want to introduce you to him.
What's up guys, Aaron Smyth here. I'm just going to give you a little walk around the gym before we kind of kick into stuff. We're in Smyth Swords and at the minute it looks like a bomb site because it's getting renovated, so everything here is pretty much brand new. So that whole area behind us was all squat racks and like deadlift platforms all over there. They've now put a new massive boxing rig, CrossFit style rig here, another sort of rig over there. So it's probably going to be one of the best gyms in the country when they're finished. But we're just going to hit a chest and back session, and yeah, Bryce Lifestyle is going to put me through the ringer today, so he's over there warming up at the minute. But yeah, just to kind of give you guys a little bit of an introduction to who I am and what I'm about. I'm a personal trainer and have been in the fitness industry since 2010, so this will be going into my 7th year. Ireland's number one body transformation coach. I'm an online coach, so I have obviously online clients. I also take one-to-one clients on a very regular basis. And yeah, so how I kind of got into that, got into the industry in 2010. Just working my way up through the ranks as a fitness instructor, done classes, all the rest of it. I've done sort of Les Mills classes, if you guys have heard of them, like body pump and body attack and all that kind of crack. Got into the more personal training, sort of tailoring end of things, because classes just weren't for me, and I was getting better results when I was doing personal training. So yeah, that's kind of where my career kind of escalated. So I started doing YouTube about maybe a year ago, and started kind of getting my social media up and running and doing Instagram and Snapchat and all that kind of crack, just for a bit of fun. And then it kind of started growing big, but yeah, it was kind of out of nowhere it kind of started going really well. But yeah, originally from Blackrock in Dundalk in Louth, so yeah, that's kind of a little bit about me. This boy's over here warming up. I'm kind of fearing this session. I've already been in and done sort of cardio and mobility this morning at like, it was like 6:30. So went home, got food, and now we're back in for a push and pull session. It should be fun.
So never mind what happened yesterday. So never mind
Question is, foods recommended to keep size but lose body fat.
Right,
So
this one.
you want to dive in there?
Well, for me, it would be more so the carbohydrate end of things. So I would be looking at quite a high carbohydrate content in your diet. The reason being is that carbohydrates fuel your muscles to be able to work harder. So I would be looking at, like, obviously your calorie balance has to equate. So like, you can't be just, shoveling a ton of calories in and not kind of monitoring things. But I would be going along the end of quite a high carbohydrate diet, a sort of low fat, moderate protein and a high calorie diet, because again your energy, you need a sort of high energy output.
Yeah, I'm the same regarding GAA. I always put anyone to go for a high carbohydrates, because obviously you're going to need your carbohydrates to get through GAA. What suits me is a low fat and a high carb, like.
Awesome.
So I really track exactly the calories in, calories out to keep your size. And just being a small deficit, but have enough carbs in your diet.
Yeah, for sure, big time. I would agree with that. So yeah, loads of carbs, moderate protein, low fat, and literally train your fucking ass off in the gym.
Yeah. I have a serious sweet tooth and love junk food. What's the best way to cut down on these and eat healthier foods? From my point of view, I love sweet foods, but I eat sweets during the week.
I have to say, like, I coming from a background, I've really sort of shitty history with food, and so I come from a background of binge eating disorder. I don't know if you know, but I come from a background of binge eating disorder, and I also come from a background of what would be deemed as you would call it non-purging bulimic.
Okay.
So it means that I used to like overeat loads of junk food and overeat and binge and go nuts, but then instead of like obviously sticking my fingers down my throat, I would over exercise.
Okay.
So I would undereat and then over exercise for hours on end. So I would go to the gym for 3 hours and do like 3 hours cardio, and then I would go back later on that evening and do like
Right,
more
yes,
training.
yes.
So like I would over exercise to try and compensate for
Okay.
the overconsumption of calories.
Right, okay.
So what I would say to do coming from that end of things is that you don't want to build a relationship whereby you have a good and a bad list. So you don't want to kind of go, right, well, this is the good list and I can have all of these, and this is the bad list and I can't have any of these.
Exactly. You want to be flexible. Like, you don't want to say there's no such thing as cutting foods out of your diet.
Big time.
Like last night in the last video I done, I had pizza. You just need to be smart.
Yeah.
You need to have techniques where you can fit stuff in.
Oh, hands down.
Because if you're cutting out for 2 weeks, no chocolate, you're doing great. You're telling everyone have no chocolate.
Yeah.
A party comes up and there's a table full of sweets, and you literally have 2
And then
pieces of
you're gone.
chocolate. You're like, oh fuck it, I'd blow this day out of the water. I'll start again tomorrow. And
I always use the analogy with my clients, like, when, like, for instance, if you dropped your iPhone and you cracked the screen, you wouldn't go, ah, it's fucked, and then
exactly.
To finish the phone off. Do you know that kind of? You just pick it up and keep going. Like, adopt that sort of mentality with, your nutrition. If you do have, kind of a quote unquote bad meal, or if you do kind of make a shitty choice, or you kind of opt for the shitty option, well then the next meal just make a better choice.
Exactly. You start off, you don't just blow the whole day, like you know what I mean.
Yeah. And
that's what it's all about, because you want your diet to be sustainable as possible.
Hands down.
So you do incorporate foods that you love. I would never tell anyone not to eat.
And at the same time, like, you also want to have a life.
Yeah, same as alcohol too.
Like, I'm sure you go out with your missus and like you go out for nights out and you have a few jars, or you go out, or you have you go out and you go for a meal with your dinner, or you go for a meal with your missus, or even like coming over to your granny's on a Sunday.
Yeah, you don't be taking their food scales or
how many carbs in that granny? It's like, come on,
there's techniques, like there is, as time goes on, like with your diet, there's techniques and there's ways you can incorporate foods you love and sugary foods.
What I would do is definitely use an app like MyFitnessPal, because it will get you a little bit more clued into what's going into your body, what's in certain foods, because if you're not kind of I suppose if you're unaware of what's in certain foods, well then you'll kind of be a little bit lost in. So I would definitely use an app.
Especially for 1 or 2 weeks, anyway, 3 weeks. Track your foods, weigh your foods out, get a gist of what's in foods and portion size and stuff. It'll really help in the long run.
And you basically make more informed choices.
Exactly. Here's a question here from myself. Should GAA players train hypertrophy or strength to gain mass? Probably to start off with your starting point. If you're looking to build muscle, then obviously in your compound lifts, you start to do strength. You know what I mean? Work between reps of 4 to 6. Your compound. I always try and hammer home compound movements because people always go into isolation movements for GAA, and realistically, there's like literally 5 or 6 exercises in GAA that you need to be laying down, and there is Olympic lifts as well. If you go to talk to any strength conditioning coach, just work with big teams in the country, all the county teams, to really hammer home your compound movements, your squats, your deadlifts, your bench. And if you're working for strength, 3 to 4 to 5 sets of 4 to 6, and it'll all come so you just want to basically hit as many muscle fibers in your body, and then compound movements are going to do it.
I agree.
Next question: when's the best time to take creatine and BCAAs, and should I take them on days I'm not going to the gym? If you want to dive into that one.
Yeah, so creatine is, there's this whole sort of I suppose stigma around creatine. Creatine is probably the most researched, from my knowledge, it is the most researched supplement in supplement history.
Yeah.
So, it is one of those ones that it has, and people say about creatine monohydrate, creatine at the Leicester, all these different strands of creatine. Yeah. Creatine monohydrate is the best. It's
the cheapest.
It's the cheapest and it's the best. It just works.
Yeah.
People also say that there's you gotta load and you gotta do 20 grams a day for
X amount of
time. I don't. I just take a step.
Take 5 grams a day.
Yeah. Your body naturally produces 2 to 3 grams.
Okay.
Anyway, naturally every day. So you only need to kind of top that up to maybe 5 grams. I'd probably take it up to maybe 10 grams if I'm on a cut, because what I want to do is
just hold as much muscle.
Hold as much muscle, and I want to be so. The whole idea of creatine is to drive nutrients into the, as what you'd say, intracellular, so into the cell, into the muscle cell. So drive more nutrients, drive more glycogen, which is your carbohydrates, and drive more water. So a sort of more hydrated cell and a more efficient cell is going to work better in the gym. So essentially that's what you want to do. So I would take it up on cuts.
The best time, personally, I don't think there's a better time to take it as long as I get it in that day.
For sure, yeah. And again, it's more of a sort of people say, take 5 grams before and 5 grams after. It takes, God knows how many hours for your body to assimilate that and get it into the muscle cells and get it straight, through your gut and into the blood and then into your muscle cells.
So I take creatine every single morning. It's just convenient because I take all my vitamins that time. I throw it into a shake if I'm making a fruit shake, whatever. It's just convenient.
One of the things that I do is I have a big 2 litre, so a big 2 litre bottle. So I have 5 grams in this, and I kind of just top the water up as I go along during the day, and then just sip away at it throughout the day. And then that just kind of keeps a constant flow throughout the day.
And days not going to the gym?
That's when you're recovering. So you need it even more then. So your branching amino acids and your creatine, keep taking them same amount on your days off, because obviously that's when you're doing nothing. So you're going to be recovering more on that day. So you're gonna utilize those nutrients and you're gonna utilize those amino acids far better.
What's the best nutrition advice and training guide for someone only starting out at the gym and looking to add muscle? That kind of goes back to the one about the GAA. You want to know what your goal is, and if strength is your goal, make sure you're having enough calories to support the gym work.
Oh yeah, recovery is key.
Yeah, so if you're in a surplus of calories, if your maintenance is about 2,500, aim to 2,800 calories. See how that goes. Weigh yourself every single day. Get into the gym, focus on your compound movements, and build strength. 4 to 5 sets, 4 to 6 reps, and work up progressive overloading. Work up it really can. It can be simple. If you break down.
That's the thing. I think
it's not complicated.
I think people overcomplicate things when they first go into the gym. They think they need to hit it 6 or 7 days a week, and they need to hit all of these exercises, and they just overload themselves with so much, and it just nearly puts people off when you first start at the gym.
Yeah.
Go in, get the basics right, master the basics, and then go from there.
Yeah, compound movements are massive. There's a big question here. If cutting and protein is hit every single day perfectly, and also calories are in a 300 deficit, does it matter what ratio carbs and fats are in the remaining calories if a great physique is intended end goal? He knows that carbs a lot of people who train longer and harder, but he seems to be grand when carbs are lower and most of my calories come from healthy fats and protein. So that's basically talking what's better, a high carb, low fat, and a low fat, or high fat, low carb.
So I was only listening to a podcast this morning and it was talking about the adaptations to fat loss. And it was more so about like when you cut, like basically your body adapts because it's essentially, you know, the phrase that was coined in the podcast this morning was essentially you're starving your body to death very slowly. And that's essentially what you're doing, but your body's going to just try to slow that down because it doesn't want to lose weight, it just wants to stay in what we would call as homeostasis or balance. So what I would say to do is, again, just make sure that you're not going too low on your calories because you know you're
going to hit plateau very fast.
And then where do you go from there? Do you double up on your training and eat less? Or
you're going to ruin your metabolism if you go too low.
You're going to be in bits. By the time it gets to 6 weeks or 8 weeks into the cut, you're going to be absolutely shattered. So what I would say is keep your calories as high as you can for as long as you can.
Exactly, yeah.
And if I always give my clients two choices. Do you want to eat more and move more, or eat less and move less? Everybody always picks eat more, move more. So they get more calories, but they got to do more.
They need it, exactly, because if you're eating more calories to move more and you don't move more, it's not going to work.
Exactly. So, but with that, I would just say again, just be careful because when you're lowering calories, don't think that when we talk about calorie balance and we say the 500 calorie deficit every day equates £1 a week, but as you get lighter, that equation changes. Do you know that kind of thing? So it gets tougher because a lighter body burns more calories. End of story.
Yeah.
And that's just what's the science of it. A lighter body burns more calories. So as you get lighter and as you get leaner, your body will struggle to lose body fat. So what I would do is a lot of my clients, I give them diet breaks. So I give them like a week off.
Exactly, yeah.
And so I would do like maybe 5 to 6 weeks dieting and then a week off and then go back on. But now what I mean a week off, it's just like back up to maintenance calories for
it's
a
like
week.
a deload for nutrition.
Exactly.
It's even refeed days as well.
Yeah,
another big
100%. Yeah. That they're all applicable in those types of situations.
Yeah, so to answer your question, depends what your goal is really as well. Like obviously GA background, I always try and keep my carbs as high as possible while keeping my fats low to moderate. It just works for me, whatever works for you. Like fill them out, take calories from carbs, take calories from fats. But I know lots of people that be perfectly okay on low carb, high fat. Like I have to be high carb.
I kill someone.
Yeah, I have to be high carb. Like someone takes the carbs away from me, I'm just no.
Yeah, you don't want to talk to me on low carb.
So as long as you're in a deficit, a small deficit, you're going to be losing body fat, and it's up to you if you want to go high carb, low fat, whatever suits you. Like
it really is whatever suits you.
I play a lot of hurling and football. What would I be eating during lunchtime break in school? I actually get this a lot because a lot of my demographic is roughly a lot of GA students, teenagers. Because whenever I was a teenager, I didn't have any information, so I would always be wondering. My mother would pack sandwiches, and everyone says bread is terrible for you, but there's no such thing as terrible foods. Okay, lunchtime, there's no actual meal that there's no meal that's going to make you get to your goal. It's all about fitting in the whole daily and the weekly calories. If your goal is to play GA, if you play a lot of sports, more likely you're going to be burning a lot more calories than someone who doesn't play any sports, just go to school.
For sure, yeah.
So you're going to have fuel in your lunchbox, okay? And there's no such thing as bad food. So you break down your lunchbox, this is what I used to do, into 3 parts, okay? You would have your protein source, you have your carbohydrate source, and fat source, and where you get them from is going to determine how well you'll be able to perform after school in your trim.
Yeah.
So you break down, you have your little bit of chicken, and then you have maybe sweet potato as a good source because it's a slow release of carbs, and it's going to hit you when you're trying to perform on the pitch better. So break down your lunchbox into 3 pieces: protein, carbs, and fats. And a perfect meal would be chicken and sweet potato and a little bit of fats, maybe in a half lamins or
But I also say knowing what's in your lunchbox is quite a cool thing as well, because I suppose I always say to my clients, it's like me saying to you, okay, I want you to drive from Dublin to Galway, but I need you to guess how much petrol you need. So if you kind of don't know what's in it, or that kind of thing, so learn a little bit more about what you're taking in is quite cool as well. So if you kind of say, right, well, I'll have a cup of rice and I'll have X amount of almonds and I'll have this amount of chicken, at least you know what that breakdown is. So then when, let's say it comes to training and you have a really shitty training session, but you had fuck all carbohydrates.
Yeah, you're gonna know that wasn't enough.
That wasn't enough.
Yeah, trial and error.
So it is assessing it and then kind of giving it that trial and error kind of thing.
Yeah, over time, mix up your lunch boxes and what suits you, and you will find a way that will make you perform on the pitch. It took me months and months to find
It
what
does take a
foods.
little while, doesn't it?
Like I remember last summer, I did find a meal that really helped me on the pitch. Like, but everyone's different, so
Big
don't
time.
go by anyone else. Go by yourself and try and error.
Big one. That's loads of questions. Oh fuck.
Right. So I'm gonna open up my Snapchat here, okay?
On Snapchat.
So I'll fly through these really quickly.
Go for it.
What advice would you give to your 16-year-old self, nutrition and training wise? I start off myself. The advice I'd give to get proper scientific knowledge. There's a load of pro science out there. Whenever I was 16, I did nothing, especially in GA. No, I looked up on YouTube. There was like loads of stuff that didn't appeal to the average person, you know, the student.
Yeah.
So I'd get serious advice. There's lots of good factual evidence stuff online. There's loads of YouTubers out there that give a lot of scientific stuff. Like I listened to a podcast, Danny Lennon,
Yeah.
Sigma Nutrition. It's brilliant.
There was a podcast I listened to this morning.
I love. So that's where we're getting our scientific stuff from. He's brilliant. Rob Lipson was on it as well there a couple weeks ago, and that is someone podcast so easy before you go to bed for a 16-year-old. When I was a 16-year-old, I used to be lying in bed dreaming about getting this brilliant physique and everything. Just listen to scientific stuff in your headphones. No means Sigma Nutrition.
And like that Sigma Nutrition breaks it down to sort of like what I would like. I'm not very good with the sort of sciencey end things, so it breaks it down to sort of layman's terms. So it's great for the person like myself who, you know, kind of wouldn't really be huge into the sciencey end of things, but you know, I was never really great in school, so you know, it breaks it down to sort of like basic terms.
It's easy to understand.
But yeah, no, I would definitely say to myself is Jesus Christ, get into fitness quicker and mobility quicker.
Yeah, mobility, exactly. And get your form right. You know, form's so important for you.
Mobility and fitness for me would have been a huge one. If I could go back and tell myself when I was 16 now, oh my god, fitness and mobility work and that, like I'd probably be training like a CrossFitter.
I've actually fell in love with the fitness end of things. Like you know, I mean, just after doing the boxing there, like just the cardiovascular fitness is just ridiculous, and it feels better.
It does.
You know, for some reason, I actually don't know why I'm saying this, but see, if I bench like 100 kg, you feel good or whatever, or if you ever got to that level. But doing like a 10k in under a certain time, it's such a good feeling.
Yeah,
so at that age, I would focus on make sure your cardiovascular health is high.
Yeah.
Next one. Should you place strong emphasis on core training when you begin working out for the first time? You want to start off with that one?
I would say no, but I would say if you're doing all the compound lifts like you said before, that kind of looks after itself, because when you're doing squats, deadlifts, benching, like, you know, overhead press, military press, stuff like that, like your core has to work anyway.
Exactly.
It's going to kind of look after itself in that sense. So I wouldn't be saying that you need to go in and do like 1 billion crunches in the gym or anything like that. I would say your lifts will indirectly work your core anyway. So
and you're not going to see your core if your body fat isn't low enough. Like
that's just
just focus on your nutrition and focus on your compound movements, and your core will be just fine.
Big time.
What's your view on intermittent fasting for 16 hours for women for fat loss? You want to dive into that one? Have you done?
I would never tell a woman not to eat. Genuinely, I would be opposed to that. I get for women anyway. For men, it's good because, you know, we have testosterone. You know, we've a different hormone profile, so it would react in our body slightly differently. But for women, I wouldn't recommend it because you're more likely to make shitty choices. When you come back to eating food, you know, that kind of thing. And like, I think that women are a little bit more susceptible to eating, you know, low carb and, you know, doing like crazy diets, like, you know, juice diets and smoothie diets and all that.
Like I know loads of females that want like 500 calorie cuts. Like, how is that going to be sustainable? I don't know. They just literally come back and they put all the weight back on.
It's sick. But that I would just say I wouldn't recommend it for a woman because you need to eat. You need to recover. Your hormone profile is completely different than a guy's. You guys need. You guys need.
If anything that I would say to anyone is maybe.
But for the well-being of all men out there.
Oh, intermittent fasting should be.
Don't not eat women. Please, you'll do all our heads in.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
eat your food.
You don't want to crank your woman. We're just being told not to eat breakfast.
Exactly.
So, what's his favourite chocolate bar?
What's my favourite chocolate bar? Oh my god, what is it? I think I'm just a straight up dairy milk guy.
Yeah.
In the fridge, ice cold dairy milk.
Fuck, chocolate bar.
Ice cold dairy milk.
I actually haven't had a chocolate bar in a long time.
Oh my god.
A protein bar, I have fulfilled protein bars, but a chocolate bar,
You for real? You haven't had chocolate bar in ages?
I can't remember the last time I had a chocolate bar. Not just because of diet, but I just don't.
That's probably why I look like this and you. I mean, too much chocolate. But yeah,
I don't know. A Moro comes into my head.
that's old school.
A Moro.
That's old school.
Yeah, that's how long I haven't had a chocolate bar. I swear to God.
Dairy milk out of the fridge, straight out of the fridge, has to be ice cold. Unbelievable. Or like a Reese's bar, something to do with Reese's.
Yeah, so that's probably why I haven't bulked in so long. So.
There you go.
Playing a match at 10 in the morning, what would you have? Eat before, and would you go? Right, so if I have a match on Sunday morning, 10 o'clock, what I do is I have a big meal on the Saturday night.
I would
what,
like that.
Yeah, so I would try and fill my glycogen stores up as much as I can the day before,
Yeah.
not actually the morning time, because you're not going to have time to eat that morning. Something small like a banana
Yeah.
will go out, but I would think I would have enough.
100%. So like people think that with carbohydrates, like, you know, it goes straight into the muscle cells.
Yeah.
You know, you eat carbs and it goes straight to fat, or you eat carbs and it goes straight to the muscle. It takes at least 48 hours for carbs to be fully assimilated and through your bloodstream and into the, you know, into the cells and all that type of mess, and that's with a really efficient body. So, you know, exactly the way you said it, the day before is a perfect time. So I would always say to my clients, think of today's fuel is tomorrow's, like
Exactly,
today's
yeah.
food is tomorrow's fuel. I would say that. I say today's food is tomorrow's
Before
fuel.
my boxing fight, I was eating like a lot of carbohydrates the day before, and even the day before, and it really stood to me. Like, don't think on the day of a match, think the day leading up to a match. That's going to really stand you. Like,
So think of like today's food is tomorrow's fuel. So
perfect.
like that.
Okay, the last question here, finally. For a 15-year-old, what snacks, if any, should I take during the school day? So you've already talked about that before.
You take this one, just more your thing.
Yeah, it is tough for 15-year-olds because there's not that, like, you have to approach young people differently than you approach a 25-year-old, in my opinion, right? Because they might say you have to eat this, and they will do it, but you need to realise the bigger picture, okay? So what snacks you would have depends on your goal. Same again, if you play football and you have something after training, you need to be eating something that's going to stand you in that match. You know, if you're eating packed crisps and a can of Coke, it's not going to stand you. It's just going to be wasted carbohydrates, especially in performance in the football match. Like, snacks like brown bread sandwich full of chicken, dead on. Like,
Perfect.
just think of the bigger picture. There's no such thing as bad foods, and you will make good choices.
Hands down, and like you'll know yourself. Like I always say to people, like people say like, oh, I should stay, or clients to me say like, come to me first, and I'll be like, oh well, you know, well I eat bread and I feel like this. It's like, well then don't eat it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if you eat something you feel like shit, like, you know, it's like me saying I'll hop my head off that wall and like it's gonna give me a lump in my head and sore head, but I wouldn't do it again.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's like if you're eating food and it makes you feel like shit.
Find foods that suit you
Exactly.
and still keep you within your goal. So if your goal is to build muscle, you're eating in a bit of a surplus, and if you're in a deficit, then you're going to lose body fat. But you're eating foods like what suits me every day, especially before I go to bed, is Greek yogurt and a melted protein bar, and maybe with a scoop protein. And that mightn't help for you. It mightn't work for you whatsoever, but it works for me.
Yeah.
And in the morning time, I always have oats with chopped fruit. Like, it works for me. Like,
There you go.
but some people, you know, everyone's different. Like, so
That's it.
find what works out for you. And there's lots of scientific evidence there online, so
Job done.
that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and you can
Tune in.
follow Aaron on all social medias. Check out his Instagram, check out his YouTube, and me.
Rice lifestyle.
Yeah,
Man, I made the trip the whole way up.
Yeah.
I actually buzzing.
only up the road, like, this man's originally from Dundalk, like, so I'm living in Dundalk at the minute. It's only up the road in Swords, so we're gonna finish up this video and give it a like because you like us, and subscribe if you're new to me and new to him.
Yeah. Thanks very much, guys.
We're out of here.
Appreciate it. Thank you.